Welcome to Takeaways, Life Lessons Learned. My guest today is Richard Camarota. Did I say your last name right?
I think so.
How do you say it?
Camarota.
Camarota.
I don't know. That's probably changes by the day. But
Alright,
we stuck with that one. We grew up in a Dutch community in Michigan, so nobody knew how to say our name, so we just kind of accepted how everybody said it.
I hope I'm at least saying it how everybody else says it.
was
Didn't
close.
totally butcher it.
They thought it started with a K usually, so we're good.
Camarota, Richard Camarota.
Yep.
So I'm going to do a little bit differently today than usual. First and foremost, this isn't my office. This is your office in a way. So we're recording this from one of your venues called Wino, which we'll talk a lot about.
Yeah.
It's too beautiful. We said we're going to sit down and do a podcast. I said we got to do it in here because it's so nice.
It is. It's a beautiful space, and we're really excited about it, and it's a nice addition to the Las Vegas community.
So before we get into your bio, the other different thing I'm going to do is just ask you, so when you're out and about, like at an event or something, and in casual conversation it comes up and someone says, what do you do? How do you answer that?
I used to say I'm a chef. I've kind of shied away from that a little bit in the last couple of years because my kids started making fun of me because I don't really cook like I used to all the time. They're like, Dad, we see you at home more often. Post-COVID, things changed a lot, obviously, for everyone. But, we had some new opportunities, and I just wasn't able to be in the kitchen every day like I used to. So I say I'm in restaurants now, I guess. But
That's the line, I'm in restaurants?
I'm in restaurants.
And I'm sure that then cascades a bunch. Yep. But let's get into the bunch. We'll get into your bio. So your official title is Operations Director and Managing Partner at McLean Camarota. No, tell me again.
Camarota.
Camarota, I got it. McLean Camarota Hospitality. So you've got several restaurants. They include Bala, which is inside of the Sahara Hotel, Libertine Social, which is inside Mandalay Bay, 550 Pizza, which is inside of Aria, Highlands, which is in Detroit, and this gorgeous concept, this gem of a concept called Wino. Did I miss any that are sneaking in your portfolio somewhere?
Well, yeah, still partnered with Soul Belly of downtown and barbecue. That's the barbecue spot. That's outside of that realm. 550 actually does not exist at Aria currently. That was a COVID casualty, as we like to say. But we are looking to bring it back. We are going to be doing a new project in Chicagoland in 26. So it's going to be brought back to life. So we're excited about that.
All right. So you mentioned that you used to cook. Your bio then goes to that your career started overseas at a Michelin star restaurant at Beccofino in Florence, Italy.
Yeah. I actually worked in Belgium prior to being in Italy. So when I was in culinary school in Chicago, I went to culinary school right after high school, and cooking always made sense to me. I always enjoyed it. I kind of then, fell into it during high school as a job because like most people did. And then kind of realized maybe I should do what I like and decided to go down that path. And was in culinary school in Chicago, and there was the dean of the culinary school was from Belgium, and so he had a few guys that go over to a family friend and do an internship there. And so I didn't do an internship, but I went over there when I graduated as kind of a post, graduation job, and I worked in their place for about 3 months, which was in a small bed and breakfast in southern Belgium in a town called Dino. And then I went to Brussels and worked there for about a year, and that was a Michelin star restaurant as well called Restaurant Michel. That was an interesting story on how I got there. But then I went down to Italy and worked there for a year as well, and finally got, I was broke and I needed to come home after a couple of years, and found my way to Chicago again.
I made a note to ask you about Restaurant Michel a bit later. All right, so Florence, then you came back to the U.S. You were appointed chef de cuisine at Spiaggia. Man, I'm butchering everything, in Chicago.
It's all right. We'll work on the Italian.
So it says you were the youngest person. Yeah, we're going to work on a lot of language here today. Youngest person to ever hold such a coveted position. Why is chef de cuisine a coveted position?
Well, I was a chef de cuisine of the Cafe Spiaggia, which was the sister restaurant to the main dining room. And I mean, as a chef de cuisine, you're in charge of the kitchen, right? You're not the named chef of the place, but you are the one who's kind of executing things day to day and really in charge of motivating the team and executing and making sure things get done. It was kind of a long shot. I applied for the job when I got back from Europe. I threw my resume around a ton of places. They called me back. Originally it was for a sous chef position. and they asked me to come back and do a tasting. And so I just said, all right, fine, let's do a tasting. And they loved the tasting so much, they're like, well, we have this job instead. And yeah, I was 23. So it was a good opening opportunity because it wasn't too big of a kitchen. And I still had a lot of people around me that could kind of make sure I didn't, screw it up too much. It wasn't like I was just on my own. And there was a little more structure in that building because there was they had 2 restaurants there. They had an event space. So lots of people could kind of make sure I stayed in line. And I tried.
So we're planning our son's bar mitzvah right now. And we're going to do a tasting. But my understanding of a tasting is I show up and taste the food that they're going to make so we can decide what we want to serve. Your tasting was probably the opposite. When you do a tasting in this kind of interview, you have to prepare the food and they taste
100%. They didn't really give me any restrictions. They said, gosh, this is 20 some odd years ago now, so I'm trying to remember. But, there was no restrictions. It was really just, hey, come and cook for us. I did 4 courses for about 4 or 5 people, the general manager of the restaurant, the chef, obviously, and a couple other people. And yeah, that's what you do.
So you're in their kitchen.
Correct.
You have to use whatever food. It's kind of like a TV show, right? Whatever food they have, or do you get to say, here's my grocery list?
You can sometimes ask them for a list of stuff. I mean, it's not necessarily it's pretty bad form to go in there and be like, hey, buy me a bunch of expensive ingredients and then I could do my tasting. Usually you're trying to show up and show what you can do with what they have. And that's so, if you ask for a piece of fish or something, that's one thing, but you don't go in and ask for caviar and truffles.
All right. That's so fascinating. So then you went on to open a restaurant called Custom House with Sean McLean.
Yeah, so I had worked with Sean as an intern in culinary school at a restaurant called Trio. He was the chef there. He was a very talented young man at that point. He had taken that job as the chef of Trio, and I think he had run that kitchen for 6 years or something like that, which was a really prestigious place, and he had won a lot of awards up there. And, we always had a great relationship. And so when I went over to Europe, I was just kind of kept in touch. I came back. I got that job at Spiaggia, like we talked about. And, he'd always kept in touch, and he was opening his 3rd restaurant. So during that whole period of time, he had opened 2 other restaurants on his own, called Spring and Green Zebra. And then this was his 3rd venture into a concept that he was opening. And he called me and asked me if I wanted to come run that kitchen. So again, I was kind of shocked that anybody wanted me to do that at that age. But again, they gave me some good structure to go out and succeed. So that was the key.
So then you come to Vegas in 2009. You're executive chef at the acclaimed Sage. You opened that, right?
So that's with Sean, and we've been partners now, and we weren't partners at that time, but we've been connected now for almost 20 some years. And
wow.
So Sean won his James Beard Award back in what that had been 2008 or 2007, 2008. And then he had the opportunity to open Sage at Aria, and I think that kind of, winning that award helps you kind of springboard into those opportunities. And he basically said, hey, I need somebody to go out there and run this restaurant. Do you want to do it? And I dragged my wife kicking and screaming out here during the summer to come check it out. And we stayed at the Bellagio. It was about 105. She got romanced by the Bellagio, though that helped. But she definitely was not a fan at first. And I don't know. We found a way to make it work, but it was exciting.
So Sage was a smashing success. It's at the time the culinary crown jewel for Aria. You and Sean used that as a springboard. You actually grew your partnership with MGM Resorts with other restaurant concepts. You mentioned 550 Pizza. That was at Aria. Liberty and Social, still at Mandalay Bay. So those 2 were opened in 2013 and 2016, respectively.
Sounds about right.
Fact check me. Feel free to fact check me.
Don't ask me for my kids' birthdays, too.
So the other thing on your bio is that it says you led all 3 of the Las Vegas locations to be opened on time and on budget, which anyone in the construction industry, real estate industry knows that on time and on budget is usually a slogan that is, and it's like an aspirational thing, but rarely is it hit, but you hit it on all 3 really major projects.
Yeah, the casino projects are a little different. I mean, I wasn't necessarily the GC or anything of that nature, but...
You're so humble. Take the credit, man. I'm giving it to you.
I would say the Highlands project was the one that I really had to push across the finish line. That was our project in Detroit, and that we did get done. That took a couple years off my life, but The ones here in Vegas, yeah, they were great, and it's been exciting when you get an opportunity to build something like that in those casinos. It's just unique. You know, we don't build that. You don't build restaurants like that in many other places in the world with that kind of name brand designers and bigger budgets. I'll be honest, and so it's pretty cool to be able to do that.
We have a friend here.
Yeah.
Tell me about Highland, because I don't know anything about that
So
restaurant.
Highlands
within
yep.
us. Okay.
Highlands was a project that Sean and I had talked about for a while. He lives in Detroit full time. That's where his wife's from. And when they had their first child, they basically were like, well, they wanted to raise their kids there. And so we'd always looked for a project there. We didn't want to find something small. Restaurants, small restaurants are nice. It's fun, but they also can be just as much work as the big ones. And there was an interesting opportunity at the top of the GM Rensen, which is actually the General Motors headquarters. And this was 2017-ish? Yeah, so right around then. And we got the opportunity to pitch for that space, and we got it. And then we, basically had to go out and find the money and raise it and get the whole thing built. But it was a really big project because it's 2 floors on the top of the 71st and 72nd floor of this tower. So building anything that high up in the air is not easy. And it was quite the feat, but we built 2 beautiful restaurants up there, one on the 71st floor and then basically an event space on the 72nd floor. And it's an amazing location.
Wow. All right. So currently you are leading your organization of restaurants. You're in charge of daily operations, and your annual revenues are exceeding 20 million. Is that still accurate per the internet?
I hope so. Some days.
Maybe it's 30. All right. You said Michigan native. You mentioned you're a husband. You have 2 sons.
I do. 2 boys. Yep.
2 boys. Excellent business partner, a financial hawk, a keeper of culture, a chef, or maybe former chef. You're a mentor to the industry. So welcome to Takeaways, Richard.
Thank you.
That's pretty good, huh? Nice little intro.
Love it.
All right, tell me about your wife and kids.
My wife is obviously, you've met her. She is definitely the reason I am where I am. I'm really not going to lie and say that. My culinary talent is one thing, but she has helped us really build some things, and she's an amazing person and obviously a wonderful wife as well. But we had an opportunity to pitch for that 550 concept, which we didn't really know. They just asked us. They said, "Hey, you've done such a great job with this restaurant. We like what you do. We're going to open this pizza thing. Do you guys want to be involved in a kind of the RFP?" We said, "Sure, why not?" And went back home and kind of explained that. And she goes, "Why would they ever pick you guys? Like, you guys don't do pizza. You guys do fine dining restaurants." And so we were like, "You're right. That's a great question." And what she really has helped us do, and I say we, meaning Sean and myself, but she's obviously very much involved in everything we do, is just take a vision and actually help it become real and help explain that to other people. Sometimes us chefs and people in the kitchen, we see things, we can do things, but we're maybe not always great at talking about ourselves and talking about the vision. And I think what she has helped us do is be a little less humble and maybe be a little more aspirational, and then take that and then go out and do it, which has been cool. But at the end of the day, she's my wife, and that's first and foremost. But then we obviously have business, which becomes, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. And how about your kids?
They're great. They're 14 and 11. The oldest one just started high school this year, so he's got his whole new 14 going on like 24, the way he acts sometimes. But he likes to think he already figured the world out.
Isn't that frustrating?
I don't know. It depends on whether he's listening.
Yeah, my oldest is 13, and it's like,
yeah,
come on, Nathan.
Yeah.
I know you know what you think you know, but like I was also 13 before.
Yeah,
I might have a idea or two that would be good for you.
Yeah, I know. It's I try to bite my tongue every once in a while and just say, "Hey, well, you got to learn the hard way." But I certainly did. But I had a great parents as well, though, so I was pretty lucky. And then my 11-year-old, great, fun kid. He's more of the sporty one. He's out there running around. He's playing football this fall, so yeah, I'm good.
Nice. So I was going to ask what originally got you into the food business, but you talked about it just made sense for you, and after high school, you went to culinary school.
I did. I did fine in school, but it wasn't something I loved. I wasn't super excited about necessarily going to college, I'll be honest. And I did well in kitchens. I mean, I started cooking in a couple in high school, and I started cooking really when I was probably in middle school. I just would cook all the time at home. My parents cooked a lot at home. My dad cooked a lot, being kind of an Italian family. And it's made sense to me. It's probably the easiest way to put it. Like, it just was something that always came natural. So I said, well, maybe I should just do this more often. Went to culinary school in Chicago at a place called Kendall, which was up in Evanston at that point.
And when someone goes to culinary school, how long does that take?
It's all over the board. It's a 2-year technically program for the culinary arts degree. And I will say it's kind of a joke. I was going to school with, either some other high school kids that didn't know why they were there or didn't care about cooking. Some of them didn't ever work in a restaurant. And then I was also there were some women who were using it as a way for their husbands were like, why don't you just go take some cooking classes on the side? So it was a bit of, you had to make the most out of it. I spent a lot of time with I had a couple chef instructors that were really cool, and they helped me get involved in some of these cooking competitions, and just doing that allowed me to spend a lot more time with them and to, talk about food in a different way. And, so that's what really became of it. It's just like anything, it's what you put into it. If you want to put something into it and get something out of it, you can do it, but you could skate through pretty easily, if you wanted to. And then technically you can get some business bachelor stuff out of it, but I don't know. I didn't do that. I went to Europe after that and kept cooking.
All right. You said the story about how you got to Restaurant Michelle is interesting. So.
Oh, I don't know. Is this a adult podcast or?
Yeah, there's no PG rating.
Okay. So I worked for that family in southern Belgium for those 3 months. The son came home for Christmas, and I had already talked to them. I was going to go try to work at this other restaurant in Brussels, which was an hour north, the main town. I also had a girlfriend from America who was moving over to Brussels, and so she was going to school over there. Long story, but about okay. So he was like, "Oh, I'll find you a job up there. We have connections. We'll get you a job." So I kept waiting. I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to go up there next week, and I just trying to find an apartment. I'm trying to find, where am I going to work? Da da da. And he said, all right, well, Sunday we're going to go up there. I've got a job lined up for you. Great. Okay, sounds good. Saturday night, he goes, you got to come with me. I'm going to see all my friends. You got to come out. We're going to go to this party. I said, well, I don't think that's a great idea. I really don't. You told me I got to go to this job for the first time. And, we're driving an hour north. I didn't speak French all that well. I didn't really know where I was going. No name of the restaurant, no nothing. And he's like, no, you're coming. So I go to the party. He's like, don't worry, we'll be home by 10 o'clock. 10:30 comes around, 11:30 comes around. I was having a good time. I wasn't complaining. Finally at about 12:45, I go, we got to go. Don't we have to be in Brussels tomorrow morning? He's like, yeah, don't worry. I'll pick you up at 6. And I'm like, okay. So I finally get back to the house, and I think I wake up at 6:30, like, oh my God, what's going on? Did I miss? And he's not there. I call him, no answer. Call him, no answer. Finally, and this is all pre-iPhone too. So we could text a little bit. We had the flip phones, but it wasn't that easy to get a hold of people. And I finally, around 7:30, I didn't think he was going to show up. I was like, okay, I guess this isn't happening. He pulls up in the front. He says, hey, we're going. I said, okay, where are we going? He goes, we're driving to Brussels. It's fine. I knew nothing about where I was going to go work. I just had my bag, had my clothes, and a really bad hangover. And so I show up in this kitchen about an hour and a half later at the back door, and I see him going up to talk to the chef de cuisine, not the owner, but the chef de cuisine. And I couldn't speak French. I spoke enough French that I could get by in the kitchen, but I wouldn't sit there and have a conversation like this. But I could read enough body language to look at him and go, this wasn't planned out. He kept looking at me and pointing back at him and going, well, yeah, he's going to work here. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so literally then I just was like, okay. And he goes, you're good. You're here to get to work. I'm like, okay. So I just started work. I went over to the station and asked this guy, "What are you doing? And do you need some help?" And so I started doing that. So that's 10:30 in the morning, and then I finally we do lunch service, and the owner comes down and he stands next to me, and he's a big, huge, tall Flemish guy. So the northern half of Belgium is Flemish. They don't speak French. They speak Flemish, which is a dialect of Dutch. He says some words to me. I don't know what that he says. And he says something to French in me. And I'm just, all I want to do is take a nap at this point. And I try to respond, and he just kind of gets annoyed. And then he finally looks over at his chef, and he goes, he just kind of both shrugged, like, I don't know why he's here. And he asked me, so he takes me up to his office, and he goes, well, do you want a job? He gets his daughter to come translate, because I was not doing very well with my translation at that point. I'm like, oh, what are you here for? Do you want a job? I'm like, sure. I thought that's what I was here for. And so yeah, there you go. I ended up working there, and I worked there I worked there for 8 months after that.
I feel like that's a classic restaurant kind of a story. Like, how did you end up here? Some wild guy takes you out partying all night, drives you to somewhere else, and
it was a great job, though. I learned a lot there. That we cooked everything from scratch. I mean, it was 35, 40 people every day for lunch and dinner, so it wasn't a ton. Maybe 60 for dinner on the weekends, but I mean, we did everything. There wasn't any product that came in that back door that wasn't fresh and clean. And I mean, we would pluck our own pheasants. It was amazing.
Wow. So you mentioned Sean McLean. Who is he, and how did your relationship start? And
yeah, I had a similar experience at Trio when he was the chef there. Showed up there for an internship, or we call it a stage, where you come work for a day, and that's usually how you either get a job by you come in, and it's basically a working interview. Mm-hmm. And we did one of those, and I was hoping to get an internship, and had a great service. And at the end of the shift, they said, well, hey, do you want to go have some beers after work? So I did, and then we had a good time. And next thing we were out till 2 a.m, and I said, do I have the job? And they're like, yeah, I guess you do.
This is like a pattern with you.
I guess I have a good time. No, but no. So Sean, I worked with Sean's team there at Trio my internship was 3 months, but then I kind of kept working through the rest of my school year there. And I mean, Sean's been like a father figure to me. He's been a mentor when it comes to everything. I mean, we've obviously worked together, and I worked for him for many years, and the relationship has obviously evolved to more of a partnership. But he's still the compass for everything that we do.
Let's share 2 stories. First, how we met originally, which is probably around 2016, maybe.
How we met?
14, 16, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you showed up at my house one night.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
That was the first time we actually met.
I didn't show up at your house.
We'll tell the whole story.
A little different than some of my other showing up stories, yeah.
And then how we met again 8, 9 years later. So I'll tell my side, you tell your side. I was invited to a gala for Spread the Word Nevada. It's a local organization here that my business partner Carol has been on the board for a long time. And as these events go, there's live auction, silent auction, live auction. There are a couple of live auction items that were being auctioned off to the audience. One was, chef comes to your house for dinner for 10. I've never heard of this chef. Can't recall if there was a restaurant attached to them. And it went for like 20 grand or some crazy number.
I don't know. We didn't get any of that money, but yeah, it was.
Well, no. So then you guys were the next item.
It was for the kids.
It was for the kids, yeah. But no, you guys were the second item.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
and it was, now it's like, okay, Chef Sean McLean, James Beard, Sage, like this we know. Like this is a name we know, a restaurant we know. And I think the audience got collective sticker shock from the one before you guys. Mm-hmm. And nobody was bidding.
Yeah.
Because it went so high that everyone probably thought it's going to go high. So I bid like $1,000 or something. Man, and then someone else, and then my partner, who, you know how these tables are, they're round. I'm sitting here, she's sitting there facing the other direction. Carol didn't know I bid, so she bids. So now it's like the 3, and like our table erupts. It's like, what are you doing? So we figured out that we're both bidding. So we got up to, I think it was $7,500, which was a bargain, an absolute bargain for what we got. But at the time, that was an insane amount of money.
Yeah. It's a lot of money for 10 people to come and have dinner.
Right? Yeah. Actually, your guys' was 20. It wasn't like a sit. I think the difference between the two, the first one was like dinner for 10, sit down. Yours was like dinner for 20, but it wasn't like a sit down served meal.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we did more of like a
which was
reception.
better, by the way. For me, it was like this is so. I got away with highway robbery that night. Is how I feel.
Yeah,
and it was like a lot of money.
Those things don't crush it at the charities. The new one that you've seen at the charities is the puppies. They're giving away puppies
kill.
at the end. Yeah. It's
Well, yeah, we were out one together. It was for
probably
St. Rose.
yeah.
The puppy went for like 20 grand, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot for me, puppy.
So we win the thing, right? We win it. Our other partner. So we come to our partner meeting the next Wednesday. We tell our other two partners what we did, and I think Kurt took pity on mostly me and said, "Let's make this a company expense and make it a company thing."
That's
so
nice.
we invited.
That's good.
I'm telling you, he saved my skin on that one. And now, so who the guy that I think was like front of house for you, or the GM at Sage at the time?
Was that Robert? Nicodem? Was he?
Yes, Nicodem.
He was a strong
100%.
European accent.
Yes. So it's like we decide we're going to do it at our house. So we had a nice single story house that we can kind of do this sort of thing at. Had to get the kids somewhere else. The dogs were boarded that night. So he shows up to my house maybe a week or so before to scope it out. And then
Robert's an interesting character. You probably were a little like confused.
I was like, wow, this is like so serious. Yeah, he had the accent and everything. I mean, he played the part. So he checks out the kitchen, checks out like we had this kind of bar area. Cool. So everyone shows up. You guys show up. Actually, you guys showed up. And I was like overwhelmed. It was 7 people in the kitchen and like 5 people was Robert and like maybe 3 people like front of house. It was like the restaurant came to our house.
That's what you bought. The restaurant comes to your house. That's the goal. So, we usually probably overstaff for those things, but there's a lot of stuff to move. To be honest, that's the hardest part is moving all the stuff in. It's like all the food. We're like, when we pack up that list, I had like 4 sheets of paper of like, okay, everything we got to bring, and it's covered, so it's all the plates, all the glasses. I mean, because we want you to basically when we leave your house, we want it to feel like, okay, I don't have to clean anything up. Everything is gone. It's not like we're going to use your glassware. So yeah, it's more about the moving that's a little bit challenging of all that stuff.
So one of the first things was you came to me, you guys like take over the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And then you come to me and you're like, do you have another refrigerator?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we do in the garage. Okay. And the next thing I see, I don't know if it was you or somebody else with like a tray, so one of those like silver kitchen trays, full of stuff from my refrigerator in the kitchen. You're taking it to the garage fridge.
Yeah.
And the thought I had, I was horrified. I'm like, was there anything expired in there that they've just, like, I'm found out now?
I wasn't looking. I'll be honest.
This is the stuff in my head, not your head per se. Then you asked me for an Allen wrench. I think you guys broke my sink or something. You were like fixing it.
We didn't break it. I think we may have adjusted it. Yeah, you're right. I think
Then you asked me for the barbecue. So you guys had, I think it was like maybe it was a rack of lamb or some, like a ribeye kind of a thing. I don't remember.
It was
you
either
guys,
lamb or ribeye, yeah.
You guys used the back barbecue. Anyway, it was like a life-changing experience.
Oh, that's fun.
For everybody that attended, not just me.
Good.
That was the first time we met. So fast forward now, it's probably 8 or 9 years later. I get an email from a guy named Jim Stewart, who's a developer who's developed Uncommons, where we're sitting. Mm-hmm. He's sending out an email to his network saying we've got a great operator and they're raising money for a concept that's going in there. If you guys are interested, come to Bala at Sahara and hear them out. And the same thing, I see the name. The other thing I should say before that, at our house that night, you guys couldn't have been more gracious. Every one of you, even Sean, which is like, he's like the name and the chef with the title and all that. He even came after and like stood with me for probably 10 minutes. Tell me about yourself, your family, just a down to earth kind of a thing that he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
You could have just, done the obligation for the charity and moved on, but that isn't the kind of people that you are. That was the impression that I got.
Yeah, no, that's him in a nutshell. I mean, he's just a very gracious, warm person, and I mean that's why people who have worked for him and worked with him, even I think always still gravitate towards him. He's just a very genuine person.
And so when Jim sent the email and I saw your name and I saw his name, I was like, I'm going to go check this out. Not that I was looking to invest in a restaurant concept at the time. Yeah. But I wanted to come see you guys. I wanted to hear it because I was genuinely intrigued. And this is what you pitched that night, was the concept of why no.
Yep. Yeah, there was, all these things are always a little bit of like, all these projects are like having new children. And it's probably not the best metaphor, but
Giving birth is probably a good metaphor.
yeah, but it's a lot about just the, you come up with the idea, you come up with the vision, and most of the time, I'm not going to go to a bank. They're not going to loan me the money. So we tend to have to usually do investment. We have some people that we've worked with and that we have relationships with, but, they don't like to be the whole piece. And so that was a kind of a fun night to pitch this and to really try to say, hey, this is what we believe it can be. And I think we had like 20 people back there that night. And but it was also cool to meet folks like yourself and your partner and just chat with people about it and even just hear a perspective from folks that was just different about Vegas and what was going on. And it was a really kind of a cool group of people that Jim got together that night. And, super, super thankful and grateful that he did that.
All right, I got a lot more to ask you. Before we get too far into it, I ask everyone on the podcast the same question. I'm curious what your answer would be. What's the single most influential thing or event in your life that has shaped you the most?
Great question. I think if I had it was my time in Europe. If I'm going back to my professional career, the way they take the hospitality industry there, the way they treat it and the way it's embraced is just so different. It's it's a profession. It's not just this thing that people do for a couple of months while they're waiting for their next job. So I saw a very different side of it. I kind of fell in love with it. I fell in love with ingredients and stuff like that. I went there when I was 20. I moved to Belgium. I knew no one. I moved over there 3 months after 9/11. I had some money or whatever. It wasn't like but I knew I had a bed and breakfast that I was going to stay at. I didn't know where it was, didn't know who the people were. I just did it. And, and I was there for 2 years. I came home once for one summer. So I just think that was an opportunity to me that I said, I can figure it out. I'll do anything.
So 20 years old, it's kind of like almost study abroad experience.
Sure.
Like a working study abroad experience.
Yeah, and you get yelled at in all these languages and cussed at in all these languages. That's great.
It's almost better if you don't really understand what they're saying. It's kind of like
I figured it out.
Tone translates.
Correct.
Right?
Body language.
So when you look back on that experience, what one thing do you remember that could be wow, that really altered my perspective or changed the way I carry myself?
Within that,
with your life, I would say, not just professionally.
There's been a variety of little things, but I mean, my parents have been a huge part of it. I think seeing how they've handled things, my dad's been an entrepreneur. He started his own business and he was just very much a strong figure in my life about goals and what you have to do. And it wasn't easy all the time. I probably didn't listen to him most of the time. He probably was worried about a variety of moments that I chose, but
now you're getting payback from your son.
Yeah, I see a lot of it, actually. If I'm being honest, I see a lot of it in me. And but I think it just goes back to the concept of, stability and trust in yourself, that at the end of the day, if you believe that you can do it and you have talent, you're going to be fine.
Cool.
And you work hard. That's about 98% of it.
Believe in yourself, work hard. So you mentioned Soul Belly.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite places in town.
Yeah, it's cool, man. We just won I should say not won, but we just got recognized with Texas Monthly. That was really cool.
So that Texas Monthly just came out. Some guy traveled around America, I guess, not in Texas, went to barbecue restaurants and said, these are the top 100 barbecue restaurants that are not in Texas, and Soul Belly was on the list. I didn't see what number it was or if he ranked them or not.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know either, but because I just came out yesterday. But yeah, Daniel Von David, I think it's Daniel. I apologize. Bruce has a good relationship with him. Bruce is my chef partner over there, and he's always been, he's eaten there probably 6 times now, and he's the first couple times when after we opened, he's like, this is good, but you need to get better if you're going to get on the list, which was kind of cool feedback. Because he was honest, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And so he's been back a couple times, and obviously we've improved, so we got on his list, which is cool, which is a big deal because the Texas Monthly one is pretty significant. There's not a lot of publications anymore when it comes to food that matter. I wish it did. The days when I was coming up in culinary school and even when we first had restaurants, you'd open the Chicago, in Chicago especially, like if I would open the Chicago sometimes after we opened Custom House, wanted to see the review, and it mattered. Like if we got a good review, it would help business. I don't know what that is anymore. I just, there's too much.
Now it's influencers.
Maybe. I don't know about that either. I mean, we don't really play in the celebrity game, like, hey, let's get, every Joe Schmo a celebrity, pay him to come here. That's not really our deal, our shtick. But, so yeah, I don't know. That's a tough world these days.
Bruce has an interesting story. So
he does, yeah.
I was at an event, so my smoking story, this podcast is more about me than it is you. My wife bought me a smoker in like 2019. So I'm like, cool, I'm going to figure out how to use this thing. I had a couple buddies that were years ahead of me, so they were my like smoking senseis. They coached me through my first couple, which were, the first one was a total disaster. The second one, a little redemption and plenty of good and bad barbecue in between. So the three of us were at an event downtown. We're like, let's go check out that new place. I don't remember how many years ago this was. It was quite a while ago. How long's it been open?
We opened in May of 21.
Of 21. So this is probably... Yeah, it was right around there, I want to say.
Yep.
So we go. Chef Bruce was there. We ordered everything. It was almost like the person checking us out was, are you sure? Or, yeah, we want to try it all.
Yeah, we used to do the counter service. Yeah, you'd kind of get a look if you were only a few people.
Yeah, we want everything. So much so that, like...
We need more of you.
There was one or two things we didn't order that they brought us because they wanted us to try it because we literally ordered everything else. Like, try this too. It was very nice. So my friend Tom got talking to Bruce and was like, I'd like to do a shift here. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I've got charcoal smokers, not a wood smoke. I want to learn how to do that thing. And he set him up. Like Tom owns a couple businesses, Tom.
Yep.
He went there and like midnight and he set him up with the overnight cook and was like, all right, here's how you do it. He did it. Crazy Tom did his shift there at Salt Belly.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce is a super generous guy. And smoking meats, it was new to me too because I met Bruce the summer of 2020. Yeah, more like fall. We were looking for a new chef for Libertine Social, for Chef de Cuisine there. And Bruce's name got to me through somebody. He came and hung out for the night. And I was like, and I knew him. I didn't know him, but I knew him through just some other chef circles. And he was worked in Chicago for a long time. And I was just like, dude, I don't have a job here for you. Like that was middle of COVID. Nobody knew what was going on. It was really weird, slow time. It was slow and busy. And he wanted to do this barbecue concept. And so we connected a couple weeks later. And the funny thing about that was I said, he was doing pop-ups, just trying to get better at it. He had done it a few times and really fell in love with it. And he's like, well, let's do one. I'm like, well, let's do one at my house. And I got some people, maybe we'll bring them over and we'll see if they want to pitch in and get this thing off the ground. Because we had a spot downtown that we were thinking about. And so, yeah, we found this guy who had an offset smoker on a trailer. And it had this crazy weird, like dragon motif and all this metalwork on the outside. It was pretty funny. And so we trailered it up to my house, and him and I smoked 2 different nights in a row. We did one night first to test it out, and then we did it the next night for the folks. And yeah, so we were out there for 3 or 4 nights just smoking meats and having a good time. And we started at 11 p.m. and went to try to get everything off by 8 a.m. And so it was cool. It was smoking briskets and some of those longer things. It's a fun cathartic experience. It's like working with fire and all the other things. So it's a cool cooking method.
He's connected to Dave Grohl somehow?
Yeah, there's a relationship there. That's how his original smoking love came into play. And I forgot, he could explain it better, but I think it was a charity event that somehow he got paired up with him. Because Bruce has done he had a great restaurant in LA. I'm blanking on the name, but it was an Italian concept. And so that's actually really what he's known for. And he just got paired up with Dave for something, and Dave had been smoking meats for charity stuff. So whatever, long story short, they got paired up and they have a great time. And he's like, I should do this more. This is a fun method of cooking.
Let's zoom out to your company, MC Hospitality. On your website, there's a section under what we do. It doesn't say core values, but it reads to me like this might be your core values. What it says is, we find the niche within the niche. We are passionately dedicated to execution, being true collaborators and committed partners, delivering financial results. So kind of skipping over the first one, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on what does that mean to you, the niche within the niche. But like, if you were to hire a business consultant to say, restate these as core values, they really jump off. Like core value number 1 or 2, hands-on execution every single day. Be great to work with, and we are fiscally responsible. So tell me first. I'm going to talk more about all of these, but tell me first about, for you, like, what does that mean? We find the niche within the niche.
Well, none of our concepts have been the easy way, right? Or the easy route. Sage was a restaurant that I don't think anybody thought was going to be what it was originally in Las Vegas. And I'm just using that for the first example, but even what Sean has done in his career wasn't it wasn't at a TGI Fridays, right? We could all just go, hey, what do people like? They want hamburgers? Let's do a hamburger restaurant. Do you want to it was always trying to broaden a culinary lens, but do something that we felt was going to be important. So when I say the niche within the niche, or we say that, it's about doing something that hopefully resonates with the public and they're super excited about and brings them an experience that they're super excited about and want to come back to, but also something that we feel proud about that represents the dedication that people put into it. We want to be proud about the wine and the shelves and the bottles that we have up here. Like, so, we could buy a bunch of Napa cabs and sell a lot more of them, but we want to have some things that are a little bit more unique. We want to have, we certainly have some of those, but then we want to have things that people are maybe excited to try or be exposed to that they wouldn't have otherwise.
The other ones are kind of, to me, they make a lot more sense. The interesting one, delivering financial results.
Sometimes it goes in waves. I would say this year has been an interesting challenge. 2024 has been, a lot of uncertainty for folks. So I feel like, the headlines you see about people and their declining spending, it's real. It's not, the sky is falling, but I think we have to get more creative about making sure that we make sure when people spend their money, they feel great value for it. And whether they're spending a lot of money, then maybe, yeah, that's fine. Our restaurant in Highlands in Detroit is an expensive restaurant. You're going to spend $100+ a person to go in there. And that's fine, and I think anybody's willing to do that if they walk away going like, wow, that was a great experience. Yeah. So it all comes back to the experience and how you feel. And then there's other concepts where obviously Soul Belly is not that. It's not, you're not going to walk out with a $100 tab for one person.
We did.
You could do it, and we appreciate that. Meat's good, but it's more about a hospitality, a friendly face of somebody that knows what they're talking about and can, and that the food's great and delicious. So, it's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's all about hospitality, and then the financial side of it, I think, will flow from that.
To me, I took it as from an operational standpoint, and how it's like I see this as like, okay, there's a discipline here. It's like, you think about food, you think about passion, you think about, all this beautiful stuff and this and that. And at the end of the day, it's like, let's not forget, we have to deliver financial results.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that came from our time working with the casino side of the business because, we weren't paid to make money, to be very honest. We were just we were a management group that comes in and operates. I worked at the restaurant day in and day out for the first 7 years, but some of those places aren't focused on making money. They're just focused on just driving the top line and saying, hey, we want to make something really cool. That's changed a lot in the last 5 to 7 years. They don't really let you do that anymore. But when we first got to town, it was some of those guys didn't really care. We were like, well, we obviously want to run this thing like a business. Let's make money. There's no reason we shouldn't. But it all goes back to still we wanted to create a great experience.
All right, so tell me about Wino and take me to when this idea was conceived. Where were you guys? What was the discussion?
The birth metaphor.
The napkin. Yeah.
Yeah, probably started with Nick Hetzel and myself. We played golf a lot, and he was just a good friend. He got his master certification while he worked at Sage, And, obviously a huge accomplishment in his life to do that. What he was studying, the amount of time he spent studying and what he was doing, it was inspirational, right? You see like how someone can really focus in on something like that. And the test itself, we were speaking about that earlier, the exam is extremely intensive when you realize it, especially to get that last certification. So I don't know. I think it was inspirational, in the sense that we said, "Hey, this is really cool." We were always great friends. I loved how he talked about wine. He talked about wine in a way that obviously was extremely knowledgeable, but at the same time was relatable, and it was just made it fun. And then we really said, well, there's no great places to buy wine in town. You either go to Total Wine, you go to Lee's, whatever. There's no relationship. You just kind of go in. If you know what you want to buy, you can go get it. And actually, the story we told that night of the party at Bala, we used to call it Nick's Picks. My wife was the one who started that. She'd go, I need to go get a 6-pack of wine for the month. I got to go buy, probably not the month, but a couple of weeks. But she would go to the store. She's like, I don't know what to buy. I don't want to keep buying the same stuff. So she would text Nick and say, hey, what should I buy? I'm going to the store. And he'd just give her a list of being like, all right, yeah, get some of this, get some of this, get some of this. And it wasn't like we're going out and buying $50 bottles to drink at home. It just, your $15, $20 bottles.
From someone who really knows what they're talking about.
Exactly. And it's like and they were awesome, right? There's great wine at good price points, but you get stuck buying the stuff on the shelves that you think because it's a name, and you're like, this stuff's not that great. So that's the genesis of that. And then at the end of the day, we almost were going to do this up in downtown Summerlin in 2019, the old Blue Ribbon chicken space. We got pretty close, and then COVID happened, and there you go, reset. And it came about again in 2022, whatever it was, and started looking at it, got excited about it, and then I happened to be looking at Uncommons, and there we go.
So Nick Hetzel, you mentioned he's a master sommelier. I looked it up last night on their website. It says there's 281 master sommeliers on planet Earth. Now, What I don't know is that how many have passed the master somm in history, meaning some have passed away, so there actually might be less living master sommeliers. But when you think about planet Earth and the fact that there are only 281 of these people walking around planet Earth, for your wife to have Nick on speed dial to say, what are Nick's picks? That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, Nick could speak to the court of sommeliers and what that means more. I mean, I'm not going to speak much about it. It's not my forte, but you're exactly right. I mean, to do anything in this world, that you're one of less than 300 people is a pretty unique accomplishment. And it's a pretty special thing to be a part of for sure.
What does it mean for a place like this to have a Nick he's a partner here, or is he, to have a partner? It's a master sommelier. It's one of 200 some odd people.
Well, it just brings a lot of structure. It brings a lot of, I think it brings a lot of our genesis of who we are, right? We're going to be focused on it as a business, but it goes back to the niche within the niche. Nick's going to be focused on bringing in product and wines that are special. It doesn't mean that they're expensive. It just means that they've been farmed and created by people that care. He knows the stories about probably almost all of them. He knows about the regions and things like that. But it's not just about Nick. I mean, the rest of our staff. We have 2 advanced sommeliers on staff as well. Norman, who's our general manager. Cindy, who's a somm here as well. And so, and some of the other folks that work here aren't at all at that level, but they're really excited about the wines, and that's what we've been trying to really create. And actually, they were just here now, is creating a community that, especially for the professionals that are serving you, that they're about learning. They always want to keep learning. They want to keep exposing themselves to why wine is amazing, because wine is about the stories that go into it. Wine is about the land that it came from, the people that made it. Yes, it's about the stuff that's in your glass, but what makes it special is all the things that went into before it got there.
So in your bio, it says keeper of culture. I want you to elaborate on that, give you a bit to think about it. I'm going to tee you up with an observation. I've been here 3 times now as a customer. I've interacted with, you mentioned Norm, Ashley, Max, Amy, I believe. Mm-hmm. if I were to have to say, okay, what's the common denominator between them all? If I had one word to describe them, it would be warm. Each of them are warm. They're like engaging. I don't think it's an accident that people like that. Because you have at least 4 that I've experienced. There's probably more. Tying back to you and being the keeper of culture. How do you do that? Am I on track with this observation?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a fragile thing. So hopefully, I'm glad to hear that your experiences were like that. And I think the idea of culture in the restaurant business is extremely important because, as I said earlier, how do you feel when you walk out the door as a customer is probably 90% of the reason you're going to come back. So I grew up in a culture in kitchens where we worked hard, we got yelled at, we got, whatever. I mean, I've had stuff thrown at me, I've gotten cussed at till I was blue, whatever. But that's just not really who we are anymore. It's not really ever who I was either. It's certainly not who Sean is. And so I think we just tried to bring that forward, and it's about, obviously we have standards that we want to keep, but can we do that in an environment that people feel good about it? Can we say, hey, this is why this is important. Here's why you need to be doing it this way, and get them excited about why that matters. And it's a fragile thing, I say, because you're working with people all the time. They have a good day, they have a bad day. You got to remind folks sometimes that you got to put those things aside in this business and try to focus on the fact that it's kind of like theater. It doesn't really matter what we do from, let's call it 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. when the doors open in here, or a dinner restaurant where the doors open at 5 o'clock. When you show up for dinner at 7:30, it doesn't really matter if I did all this amazing work beforehand. If your first interaction with the hostess or the server is kind of rude and cold or whatever, you're going to kind of have a bad feeling. So it's about
so true.
Yeah. So it's a thin, fragile line, but we really just try to lead by example, and we try to lead with compassion, I guess is a good way to put it.
You just reminded me of something. So my buddies and I did this like steakhouse excursion where we'd go to a steakhouse every month and would write about it in a blog, and the blog actually got some serious traction as a steakhouse, Las Vegas steakhouse review site.
I have not seen this blog. No.
Well, it's not up anymore. It was called Override. But I remember we went to a certain place, I'm not going to say which one, and it was me and two guys, right? And we would each invite somebody, so there was always a party of 6. One of our guys was pissed, like right out of the game, like, what is this guy's deal? And it's where they placed us. Like, he wasn't happy with our table. And for whatever reason for him, it was like, I don't know, too close to the bathroom or what. And it occurred to me, like, it didn't matter anything else, how the night went, how the food was, how the service was. He was already on tilt from that one little thing. Yeah. And it was actually, I thought it was very good. The food was great. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's it. Goes back to the experience. People have whatever they have. And you as a person taking care of them should try to recognize that. And maybe you can't fix it. I mean, there are definitely moments where you can only do what you can do.
And if someone doesn't say anything, there's no chance to fix it.
I bet there's ways you could have read it. I bet there's ways they could have figured it out. Now, whether they could have moved you or not, I don't know. But
All right, so I've been to a restaurant or two in my day. I've thought a lot about, like, if I were to ever open a restaurant.
Don't.
No, don't tell me don't. That's not what we're doing here. I'm gonna pitch you on some of my restaurant concept ideas, and we're gonna do a deal here before we leave.
All right.
You got Bruce a restaurant. You got Nick a thing. I want one too now.
Okay. Do I have to run it too?
I made some imagery to get you excited.
Ooh, wow, this is exciting.
Yeah.
This is very, very advanced.
This is a brainstorm. Okay. I don't have like the whole thing dialed out. We're gonna work together on this to develop the concept and the idea.
My wife has told me I'm not good at brainstorms because I get to the end. I get to the finish line too quickly. But I'll do my best.
I'm not gonna. There's a joke in that. I'm not going to go to that joke.
You're right. I set myself up for that one.
I got 3 concepts to pitch you today.
Okay.
The first one is called schmutz. It's a sauce concept.
Okay.
Think about, we go to the restaurant, on the left side of the menu are all the various sauces that you could ever imagine and more.
Okay.
Hollandaise. You know the sauces better than I do, right? Hollandaise, chimichurri, tzatziki. What else? Alfredo, obviously marinara. I mean,
Then you get.
What are some of the French ones?
Bordelaise, Bernaise. What else? There's a bunch of other sauces. Wow, I feel like I'm back in culinary school. Geez, I should call my niece. I get what you're going
You get
at,
it,
but
right?
yeah.
The sauces are here, and then like, how do you highlight the sauce? On this side, it could be like pasta.
Okay.
Maybe a little. You could do like a sauce flight with breadsticks.
Sauce flight with
Pasta,
breadsticks.
protein, whatever, right? So you could say, this is the sauce I want to go for, and this is how you're going to serve it for me.
Okay.
Vibrance, right? Schmutz, fun name, fun to say.
So
Do you like my
do we
imagery
let-
here?
Do
Can
we
you see?
let people make really bad ones, or do we just because like I could
What do
see
you mean
some,
make bad?
Well, really
like
bad
combination.
pairing, yes.
Oh.
That's one of the fears that I get with that kind of deal.
So we'd have to have like, okay, recommendations.
sure.
And if you veer away from them, it's like, it could be part of the shtick.
When
where,
someone puts ranch and geez, well, I mean, I hate ranch, but a lot of people love it. So
You know where I'm going with this. This is like TikTok's secret menu. You come to Schmutz to try the horrible pairings.
yeah, fair.
This is like,
I know.
so far every objection
that's-
you've given is like a reason why this works.
I know, but who are we serving? 14-year-old girls or what?
All right, so we need to develop the customer demographic.
It's okay. I like the sauce idea.
Look at this.
I like the name. I think the name.
Schmutz is good, right?
The name's good.
And then, just like you have all these bottles of wine, we have our bottles of sauce. So we're selling outside of the four walls of the real estate.
Well, that's brilliant.
That's good.
That's very
online
good.
sales, the whole deal, right?
That's good.
All right, so Schmutz is the
Not
first
not easy to
concept.
do, but good.
It's the niche of a niche.
I agree. I have not mastered the online aspect yet. It's a challenging bone to.
All right, so what do we like so far about that? You like the name?
I like the name. I like the online aspect. I get a little scared about letting people go down their build your own creation world. It doesn't.
So we
usually,
can do the recommendation.
It doesn't
part.
really go well as much as you think. I'm going to say ranch would be your number one seller.
Schmutz could be the best ranch in the country, maybe
I
even
hate
the
ranch,
planet. Do you really?
Yeah, we didn't serve ranch at the pizza place for the first year and a half. People always ask for it. We're like, no, we
What did you
not
make?
serve fucking ranch. Sorry, because
That's okay, we can cuss.
and then we finally just said, all right, fine, just charge people 50 cents for it.
Have you been to Manzu?
I have.
They don't have ranch either. They do have some kind of white sauce, like a mascarpone.
Yeah, with probably like the little garlic powder, a little bit of
really
oregano.
good.
Yeah, but that's good. Ranch isn't good.
So we can. You have to have ranch at Smudge. I mean, that's going to be
You
the
do.
number one seller. You already
You
told
do.
me that.
Yeah,
All right, so there's a chance here on this one.
I'm
Difficult though.
We can work through it. How much space do you need for this place? Seems like
It could be small. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Wings seem like a good opportunity.
Put the wings on the menu.
That's where I first thought when you were talking about like all the sauces and then the wings and sauce. It's football season.
But I'm thinking like beyond barbecue, beyond ranch, all the other sauce. Anyway, you get the idea.
I do.
All right, here's one where, let's say we're combining the butcher block.
Okay.
So I go and buy my ribs and other stuff
Yep.
at the butcher block. Some things that Costco just doesn't have, I go there.
Do you ever go to Featherblade?
I've been to Featherblade.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
We're combining that and Soul Belly in a way.
Yeah.
But the restaurant is mostly outside. It's called Backyard Butcher.
I like this.
Mostly outside.
Okay.
It is a smokehouse. You can come there for a casual
Do you do
sandwich.
your own logos?
I had some help with this. But I am the creative. I'm the creative director. I'll
They're
have
pretty
you know.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says Hayim's Backyard Butcher. I would take that
saw
out
that.
though.
It's okay.
I would just call it Backyard
It
Butcher.
makes it personal. It gets
It
people
does,
excited.
right? Who's this guy, Hayim?
Yeah.
I don't think we put the name Hayim in front of.
Are you born in 1980?
I was actually. I didn't have that. See, that was
I'm 81.
Carl who helped me with this. 81.
Yeah. I used to think that was young.
Two cornerstones to this one. One is on the weekends we do brisket camp. What you talked about earlier, how it's like lethargic and the fire. And when I started smoking,
Not
and-
lethargic, cathartic.
Cathartic, excuse me. Yes. When I started, could be lethargic. When I started smoking and posting on Instagram, I had friends, but also wives of friends say, please teach my husband how to smoke also. So this is where you could come. You could spend as long as 12 hours if you're doing brisket, or 6 for ribs, or 3 for tri-tip. So you come, there's camaraderie, there's cold beer, there's TVs outside. You learn how to cook. It's experiential. It's a buzzword, right?
Yeah. I love it.
And you go home a hero. We send you home in a cooler with the logo to
Yeah.
your wife and family.
I don't know why we're not doing it at Soul Belly, but we should probably start.
You should. It's a good idea.
We've always
You
flirted
guys
with-
attempted it, and I think the price point was too high. You gotta.
Yeah, what did we charge for that?
I don't remember, but
Like $300
you gotta
bucks?
bring it down.
It's a lot of time. That's the challenge. We've tried to figure it out.
Everything's a lot of time.
Well, 12 hours with someone is a lot of time.
At that point. So maybe brisket is like special occasion.
Yeah,
But
brisket-
you're there anyway. The chef or the cook is there anyway, no?
No, I agree, but there's just
You do need someone to drive them through the process, take them through the process.
Yeah, there's a lot of downtime in that 12 hours is what I'm saying. It's not just like there's a lot of
Yeah, we
other
need
things, so.
things to do.
Yeah.
Think about how much time you have to fill your database with quality information about your customers. How do you sell from here? So if I'm a customer, they have all my information. Labor Day weekend just happened. I should have gotten a text a week or so before. Hayim, what are you smoking for Labor Day? We know these are your 3 preferences. We just got this, and also I want you to try pecan.
Are you available for marketing help or what?
Maybe. And if I don't get a restaurant deal out of this, maybe I could be an
Maybe I
advisor.
need to hire you as my marketing director.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
This is an interesting name.
Saw it already? You saw it already? This is the deal we're going to make today here, I think.
Okay.
Of all of them, I think this one actually has legs.
Okay.
So read the name.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
Yeah.
He put barbecue on top because you really have to say
You've been
like,
hanging out in the kitchen too much. That's a pretty common joke in the kitchen.
just the tip.
It gets thrown around. The kitchens aren't exactly known for their
This is like
correct culture.
It's a cultural thing in America because of wedding crashers, right?
Yeah.
Just the tip, just for a second, just see how it feels, right? Not trademarked, I don't think.
Well,
I'd
the
need
3
an
words,
attorney.
no.
I would need an attorney to verify this, but I did do Chat GPT to see it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do this.
What is
Think Canes,
it? Okay.
chicken,
Love the concept.
chicken.
How
you get your
I'm
chicken?
so jealous.
You either get pieces, you get a sandwich. I think you could throw it on a salad. I don't know if they do salads, but that's it.
At
Right?
Cane's? No, they don't even do salads. It's great.
Quality control, cost control. So it's Canes for tri-tip, just the tip, tri-tip.
Just do tri-tip.
All we're doing is tri-tip. Reverse sear, Soul Belly can be our commissary.
I might text Bruce about that tomorrow.
This one's easy.
We've done. I don't know if we have tri-tip on the menu right now. I think we did, but
Big B's does a phenomenal tri-tip. It's actually really good.
I've
there.
never had theirs. But yeah,
It's really good.
it's not a bad thing. Specialization these days is a very solid way to go because at the end of the day, people are not cheap, and neither is product. And if you can sell what you have and not have to deal with all the other stuff, as I've gotten older, I've definitely gravitated towards these type of concepts.
So a concern with schmutz and having like 20 different sauces is you have to have all the ingredients and probably like
Yeah.
a loss of
Yeah.
whatever. This, not as much.
It's just a tip.
Just the tip.
Yeah. The name's catchy.
Name is great.
Yep. So what do we think?
Tri-tip isn't the most expensive cut of meat. It might be
it's
after
not
we
too bad.
make it super popular in America with just the
But you're
tip.
just going to be buying all of them.
That's right.
Is it? So do you go in? You get like a sandwich out of it. You go in. You make it like
Same
a
as
little,
Cane's.
make it like a deli. Oh yeah,
Plate.
like deli. Yep.
You get a plate. We have a couple of sides. You get a sandwich. You get a salad. That's it. Just the tip.
We'll talk after.
This is a good one.
That one I like.
I have another business idea for restaurants too, by the way, which was inspired partly by you. So, like, we're in the throes of COVID. My mother-in-law's birthday. We have no way to celebrate it. Usually, we go to a restaurant. I called over to La Strega, which is by our house.
Sure.
I said, "Hey, random call. I did this thing several years ago. It's charity and Sage, and I explained like what you guys did. You came over to my house. Would it be possible to get Chef Gina to come to our house to do a thing for my mother-in-law?" Now, it was only possible, I believe, because it was COVID. And so for Gina and one other person to come to our house to prepare a meal, and we were like very COVID safe. We gave them the kitchen. We stayed in the other place. All the doors were open. We had like outside courtyard. It was so silly,
All the
right?
stuff that didn't matter, but go ahead.
Well, we did it, right? But the fact is, like, she really made a memory for our family
Yeah,
at a
I
time when it also mattered for my mother-in-law.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And now I'm thinking, like, okay, so she also made good money.
Yep.
Easily, it was like maybe a couple hours. I'm sure there was some prep, and maybe not after you said like all the stuff you have to bring.
It's all the stuff you have to bring. But
you
when you
can-
have the restaurant set up, you can do it.
Yeah, so Now I'm thinking this for restaurants themselves. And how do you sell outside of your four walls?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Cameo or celebrities. You can
do.
So it's like the Cameo marketplace, but for chefs. And it's like local chefs can do it, like your neighborhood chefs,
You've
celebrity
told me this
chefs
one
can
before,
certainly do
haven't
it.
you?
I
Yeah,
have. We're talking about it again.
pitched
Though.
me on it, yeah.
7 times until it
Yeah.
resonates, right?
It's not a bad idea. Gina's a great person as well. She worked with us very briefly at Sage for a little bit, and so yeah, she's awesome.
This is where, like, as an operator, you come in and say to a restaurant, "Here's how I can expand your sales."
Yeah,
Because you need the chefs on board.
yeah. It's just all the stuff and getting it out at the time. But yeah, it's not the bad idea. I mean, we set up an app, and then you just got to book it ahead of time. Book a dinner, book some parameters.
And you, as the chef, can put your availability on the app. So, like, me as the customer, I can go on and say, okay, who's available for this thing I want to do? Oh, look at that. Oh, I want to get this person. And you could price yourself accordingly. You go win Top Chef.
Let's do it.
You go surge pricing.
Yeah, I agree. Bruce is he just was on
That could be
the
what we
backyard
need.
barbecue brawl thing, whatever.
We would need an app developer, and we would need someone tied into the culinary industry locally.
I can help with the second one.
Yeah, okay. All right, want to do some rapid fire takeaways, and then we'll land the plane?
Let's do it.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
It's funny. I was thinking about that the other day because somebody asked me that question. It probably is pasta. I try not to cook it too much because then obviously, I want to eat it all. But I love cooking pasta.
How do you make it?
Depends. Usually simple. I tend to find when I have to get home, like last night was a great example where I got home at some like 6:45 and there's like 6 things in the refrigerator that don't match. And she's like, "You got to make food for the kids." And I'm like, "Okay." There's 2 cloves of garlic, half an onion, some random herbs, and and a bunch of spices. So I made like kind of an aglio and pepe, or excuse me, like garlic and aglio pasta with black pepper, and whatever. I can make stuff out of lots of things. So it's whatever's in front of me. I'm inspired by what's around.
How would you describe hospitality?
How would you describe hospitality? I think it's about how you can make people feel. It's not about the concept of, did I put something in front of you correctly? Did I move the fork? Those are mechanics of hospitality. Those are the physical aspects. But, did you walk out of here feeling like, oh, that was really cool. I really like that place, or I connected with my server, or things like that. So hospitality is much more about your feelings and emotions.
At MC Hospitality, it's a husband and wife team partnership.
Yeah.
Share some takeaways on that, some challenges, and how do you make it work?
That's a great question. What day do you want me to remind me if it works? No, it's good. I mean, I think the hardest part for Sarah and I sometimes is turning it off. She has her own company as well. She has a design firm that she started with a former designer that she worked with in Chicago. And, so around the dinner table, it's hard for us to turn off. Sometimes, we're talking about work and different things and the projects and this and that. So I think it's good for the kids. I mean, they get to expose to a lot of things about that, and they certainly hear a way of thinking. But, at the end of the day, it just comes back to, respect. And I mean, our marriage is solid, and our foundation is solid. So then the rest of it can be, what it is. So I guess that's the easiest.
So you got to prioritize those.
I didn't know I was going to do a marriage counseling conversation.
That was a business question, so you took it as that.
Yeah, fair.
That could be on you. How does a culinary crown jewel like Sage go by the wayside? How does that even happen?
That was a lot of factors. I think Vegas is an interesting town for places like that where, Vegas things change. What is in and what's popular changes, and the casinos have no qualms about trying to chase that and or continue to make, they want to continue to be new for their customers. So there is an aspect, I think, that COVID, first of all, I mean, we were at the end of our contract, COVID happened. So for them to be like renew it, that was just kind of an easy no. And then secondly, just dining's changed a little bit in town. People just kind of want to do more. I don't know. Vegas is always a challenging town to pick or to kind of lock down what people want. You have to cater to such a wide variety of people.
So you open Sage in the middle of the global financial crisis. at the time of COVID, the COVID pandemic. You had 4 or 5. Yeah, it was 2009, so it's right in there. You had 4 or 5 restaurants during the COVID pandemic. Share some takeaways on how you survived, persevered.
Yeah, COVID was weird for everyone, but obviously at the beginning, nobody knew what was going on. I've never had to lay off 100 people, and I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen. Those first couple weeks in March were just, I think, scary because of whatever, all the reasons, but just more about trying to figure out what were the next steps. But I think what we learned was just to keep working hard and keep finding ways to find solutions, not get bogged down in all the problems. It was really easy to sit there and talk about all the things that were screwed up or weren't working or this or that. But at the end of the day, you had to sit there and find solutions and find things that were going to work. And I think it just made us a little more grateful for the stuff that we could do. I think it was weird because we had a restaurant in Michigan. The restrictions there were very different. We had the stuff here in Las Vegas, which is the restrictions here were very different. So, there was no rhyme or reason for what one or the other. But at the same time, you had to just be a good communicator with everyone, and I think that we learned that's where we really tried to refocus our values and our things of that nature.
So you and your wife are meeting friends for dinner somewhere in Las Vegas.
Okay.
What are the top 3 go-tos, and why?
I'm not great with this question. I mean, we go to Sen in Japan all the time with the kids.
That's on Desert Inn in Durango?
Yeah, my son loves sushi. The other one tolerates, so he doesn't eat it, but he tolerates all the other fun things there. He gets like the skewers and it's a very simple restaurant. I mean, it's not like but the fish is delicious. The service in there is great. So that's one. The strip restaurants that I would go to, a lot of them, there's so many. We always go to Bouchon for like the holidays. We always go there for Mother's Day. We always go there for around Christmas. They do an amazing job and just a really warm atmosphere. I know a lot of those guys from the kitchen. A lot of those people have worked with us or we've connected in some way, shape, or form. And then lastly, I mean, you should go to Bala. Bala's a great Italian restaurant. I can't go to my own place.
You can't?
I hate eating. I hate eating in our own restaurants. It's
Why?
Too
critical?
Yeah, and I just find it hard to not turn off.
That's what I mean. Like your brain's probably like.
Yeah, and it's just weird to be there with the staff, and it's just hard for me to turn off. It's the easiest way to put it.
Yeah. So when you go to, let's say, to Bala, the staff has to show up differently for you. Then there's like.
I don't know if they're definitely not walking around like on eggshells or anything, but
they're not.
No, I don't think so. But at the same time, I obviously had eaten there, and I've had a couple experiences with my parents or whatever, but it's just a different thing. So I guess what else? What other building? I don't know. Carbone was good. I've always had a good. I feel like we staffed half that kitchen and half that restaurant. They took a bunch of people from Sage, but I don't know if that's going to be. That was a long time ago. I'm not resentful.
What's the most expensive bottle of wine you have in here?
Probably either the Salon, the Salon over there. That is $1,720. But if you take it home, it's 25% off. And then the DRC, the Domaine Conti. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I want to say it's like $1,400. But that's about it. I mean, we've tried to keep a really reasonable stuff. I mean, we have bottles in here from $22 to, I think a lot of those reds up here are in that like 100 to 200 range. I mean, you can walk out of here with a 6-pack of wine for $150.
So I remember actually
or cheaper.
Our first experience here, Max was our server. He said something that stuck with me. He said, "You don't come here for Caymus, you come here to discover." Which I thought was
a great line, Max.
It's a great line, yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's very true. And we're probably never going to carry Caymus, but we do we've had some discussions internally about just finding a few more of those wines that people know. But that goes back to the niche within the niche, right? It's just you can drink Caymus if you like drinking Caymus. I guarantee we can find something for you that you're going to like that's going to be on that same wavelength, and that you're going to find that's going to be new.
So I didn't know what Sancerre was until I came here and I tried Sancerre. Now I go look for it when I'm somewhere else.
It's a great varietal.
Any final takeaways you want to leave us all with?
No, this was fun. Thank you for the opportunity. And, like you said, some of the fun stories down memory lane and relationship. And yeah, we greatly appreciate it.
This was a blast for me, obviously. And when we turn off all this stuff, we could talk about that restaurant deal.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you about your takeaways from this episode. Make sure to leave us a comment or leave us a review. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can hear future episodes as they come out. My name is Hayim. Tune in next time.